we're going to take a look into the various opinions held by Conor's fellow fighters, bringing you the good, the bad, and everything in between. Number 10. KAMARU Usman. Though once largely described as a boring fighter, KAMARU Usman has well and truly won the respect of the masses on the back of several hugely compelling wins in recent times. From his barn burners against Colby Covington and Gilbert Burns to his stunning KO of Jorge Masvidal, the Nigerian Nightmare has all of a sudden become a real contender to the pound-for-pound #1 throne. Simply put, Usman is right at the top of the sport right now, and though McGregor, aside from a few welterweight appearances, mainly plies his trade below at lightweight, Usman made it clear that he sees Conor as more of a talker than a fighter these days.
What about Conor McGregor?
Loudmouth. Just a loudmouth. He does more talking now than he does fighting. If he wants to fight me, he knows where to find me. He knows where to find me. He can call me. And we'll make that fight happen.
That said, while KAMARU is quick to brand the former two-weight world champion as a loudmouth, he still maintained that he would happily welcome McGregor to the octagon if the opportunity ever came about. And when you think about the numbers that a fight like that would generate, who could blame him? Number 9. Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler announced his arrival to the UFC in style, knocking out Dan Hooker on the Poirier-McGregor 2 undercard before falling victim to a knockout loss a few months later at the hands of the lightweight champ Charles Oliveira. And though his UFC run has seen him emerge as a big star for the promotion, Chandler definitely has some reassessment to do as far as his future is concerned.
I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's kind of a cool idea, and I love the prospect of him beating Dustin Poirier and me fighting him, me putting my belt on the line. I love it, man. It's Conor being Conor. Listen, I mean, you could say what you want about Conor, but man, the dude's the biggest combat sports icon on the planet. Not just right now, but he has been for a while, and he will be for the foreseeable future.
That said, there are certainly some incredibly fun fights waiting for him whenever he does make that walk. And when asked about his feelings on the divisional rival McGregor, Chandler made it clear that he would love to take on Conor before retiring. Even with that being the case, however, he still had nothing but the highest of praise for McGregor, calling him the biggest icon in combat sports right now and one of the brightest minds in the 155-pound division in terms of fight IQ. Number 8. Michael Bisping. As one of MMA's finest trash talkers, Michael Bisping did, in some ways, seem surprised by Conor's relatively kind demeanor during the build-up to his second clash with Dustin Poirier. As far as the count is concerned, McGregor, like him, is a man who feeds off tension, off the energy of a roaring crowd.
I think because of the fans in attendance, there's going to be tons of people around. There's going to be massive crowds in Las Vegas. There's going to be thousands of people at the press conference. And Conor lives up to that. You know what I mean? He's going to play up to that a little bit, I think. So I think we're going to see a little bit more, less of the nice guy.
It's pretty clear that Bisping has a deeply rooted respect for Conor. Just like many of us, he too was left feeling a bit underwhelmed by the man's approach to his last outing. Number 7. Eddie Alvarez. Out of all the names on our list, it could be well said that none have as much of an insight into both Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor than the former UFC champion, Eddie Alvarez. He, of course, was left largely nullified by Conor during what was a masterclass turned in by the then featherweight champion at UFC 205. And though Eddie has been pretty respectful towards McGregor in the past, he also seems to think that his former foe has little chance of regaining his past form due to his drastically changed circumstances.
When you have $100 million in the bank, it's the opposite of fighting. Fighting is like, having to deal with adversity every day, being told no, having to wake up, necessarily do things that you don't necessarily want to do. And that requires discipline. It hardens you.
With over $100 million in the bank, Conor, according to Alvarez, simply cannot be the same fighter he was before because of the fact that he doesn't need to fight for the same reasons as he used to. An interesting take from the Underground King. Number 6. Colby Covington. The certainties of life, death, taxes, and Colby Covington having words for absolutely anybody within 20 pounds of him. The former UFC welterweight title challenger was asked about Conor McGregor's chances of competing within the 170-pound division in a recent interview. Colby, being Colby, proceeded to laugh off the notion that the former featherweight champ could even be remotely competitive against the bigger men of the welterweight division, reminding Conor that he had just been TKO'd by Dustin Poirier.
Yeah, I think it's laughable. It's comical. I mean, you just got sparked by Dustin Poirier. Dude, the guy has nothing left, man. You made all your money. You're cashed out. You're not hungry. We get it, guy. Just go away. Fade off into the driftness, man. Leave this to the guys that are still hungry and motivated. So you just got sparked by Dustin Poirier. So sit the fuck down, Conor McGregor. You couldn't even knock that old man off the stool. How are you going to knock off greatness in the greatest welterweight of all time?
Covington went on to critique both men, calling neither worthy of the opportunities they had been afforded. Whether McGregor and Covington will ever cross paths inside the cage is unlikely, but if they did, could you imagine just how crazy the press conferences would be? Number 5. George St. Pierre. If there was ever a man who was in the perfect position to give Conor McGregor perfect advice, it's the legendary George St. Pierre. GSP, for those of you who don't know, lived at large as the longtime welterweight champion before vacating his title at the peak of his fame, only to return 3.5 years later to win his second belt, this time at middleweight. Now, seemingly retired, although still training regularly, St. Pierre spoke to Joe Rogan about the importance of getting outside of your comfort zone.
I think Conor can come back like he was, and perhaps better than he was, but he needed...
You had good advice about that, though.
You need to get out of his comfort zone. He cannot be the boss. Because it's easy when you're wealthy, you're healthy, you're wealthy, you got everything you need in the world, you're not hungry anymore. But you need to be willing to do that. It's a sacrifice that need to be made.
As a major superstar who controls a great degree of power in his training camps, McGregor, according to George, needs to be careful so as to not appoint himself as his own boss during such a pivotal time in his career. Though Conor is clearly a man of great intelligence and fight IQ, GSP seems to believe that there are lessons to be learned by taking too much control over your surroundings, even if you're a man as successful as McGregor clearly is. Number 4. Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier is a man who certainly understands exactly what it's like to be in a truly bitter rivalry. And as a teammate of Khabib Nurmagomedov, he knows firsthand just how deep Conor McGregor's trash-talking game can go. But as far as Conor's pleasant and humble demeanor was concerned, how gracious he seemed to be in both his last fight with Poirier and the Donald Cerrone fight before it, DC seems to think that McGregor is one of those fighters who really does need to give himself a real motive to perform at his best.
I truly believe that some people need that edge. Do I think he needs to go as far as he went with the Khabib fight? No. That was too far. But I think some of those guys need that edge a little bit, man. And I think that for McGregor, he's showing a maturity about him that he may not have had before. But I think that some of these guys need that edge.
Having a certain edge to him during fight camp may well produce the best results as far as Conor is concerned. And by the sound of things, McGregor does seem to have his back up to at least some extent, bringing a more cold demeanor into his exchanges with Dustin in recent weeks. Number 3. Max Holloway. Although the McGregor question is never too far from his past opponent Max Holloway, in this archive interview, Holloway gives an insight into the levels of respect that exists between him and his former rival.
There's a line that you don't cross, and I think some people is misreading what I said. I said there's a line that he didn't cross with me. And then whenever I did something seriously happened with me, with the Ortega stuff long ago before the first Ortega one that was booked, he was like the first guy asking what is wrong with our champion, and this and that. And then I don't know what it is, we just we respect each other on that level, and I always gonna get respect. I'm excited that he's back in the sport, and I can't wait to him go do his thing in January.
Even now, several years removed from their original matchup back in 2013, Max explains how he and Conor have never truly crossed any lines with each other, both when they originally fought and during any meetings they've had since. As most of you will know, McGregor defeated Holloway by unanimous decision when both guys were unranked featherweights on the rise. And though that bout was marred due to Conor tearing his ACL midway through the fight, it remains a rare case of two future legends colliding before anyone knew what to expect of either. Number 2. Charles Oliveira. The reigning lightweight champion Charles Oliveira will no doubt have his eyes firmly fixed on Saturday night's contest as the next contender to his throne is decided. And though Charles's thrilling victory over Michael Chandler was a fight for the ages, you do get the sense that his claim at being the single best lightweight on the planet won't fully be realized until he can defeat the winner of the UFC 264 main event.
Conor, se preocupa com o Dustin, depois a gente conversa.
Conor, worry about Dustin, then we'll talk afterwards. We'll talk about it.
Ô Conor, já que você é tão bravão assim, bate no Dustin e vem lutar lá na minha terra no Brasil. Você vai cair sentado na minha frente, amigo.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Conor, since you're so tough, first of all, you beat Dustin and then come over to Brazil and I'll put you on your ass.
When asked about McGregor after winning the belt, Oliveira seemed to indicate that he would be happy to welcome Conor into the octagon with him, telling the former champ to prove his toughness by fighting him on Brazilian soil. Number 1. Dustin Poirier. And finally, Dustin Poirier has already proven himself to be one of this era's defining fighters, a truly special talent whose ability to defy the odds has endeared him greatly to the masses. And in his recent ESPN interview with Brett Okamoto, Poirier explained both his respect and familiarity with McGregor.
I know the way he moves. You know, I have a even better feel of his timing, his speed, his accuracy, which the guy is good at a lot of things, man. He really is. He's special. And I felt it again in January when we fought. His timing, his willingness to put himself in harm's way to land shots is all attributes you have to go out there and finish guys the way he does. And I respect that because I have the same don't care mentality.
On top of that, despite the past animosity between the pair, Poirier still seems to hold quite a lot of respect for McGregor, giving him praise for his willingness to eat a shot to land one, a style that Dustin himself knows more than most about. It's clear that Poirier still maintains a healthy degree of respect for the Irishman. Thanks for watching.